Welcome to Simply Sarah. I am your host, Sarah Stockham, host of Simply Sarah, and I am so pleased you are here. Whether you are here in person live, whether you are listening as it fits into your schedule, whether you are watching as a television or on YouTube, or you are choosing to listen as a podcast, we are so grateful for you being here. Know that we value you and your time, which is why every episode we bring a special guest in, somebody who shares part of their experiences to you as a leader, to you as an entrepreneur. And in their story will be something that will be a part of a challenge, maybe part of a place in their life that they found things to maybe not go so smoothly. And in there, when they discuss the tools, when they share freely the tools that they use to get through that, therein lies the energetic gifts that we share every single episode. Today, I am so pleased to welcome you and to introduce you to Odelia Elgarat. She is somebody who is a author. She believes in legacy writing, and so that's why she is the person who has created the Legacy Writing Guide. She is an author of You Are Allowed and is translated into multiple languages because she is multilingual, multicultural, has lived in different countries around the world, multiple time zones. Odelia, we are so grateful that you have taken time out of your book launch schedule to be with us today.
And thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. How did you become an author?
Wow. I became an author when I started writing when I was really, really young. And since I want to be an author, it took me a long time to actually be an author. But I think it was just something I cannot avoid anymore. Um, it was always in my mind, in my heart. And finally, it was okay, it's now or never, kind of. When we moved to Colorado with my husband and my kids, I didn't have friends or family like back in France or Israel.
Yes.
And I have so much to do, but in the same time, I had so much time for myself, and it was the most amazing opportunity to actually become an author. So, but it took a long time. So.
I really appreciate that you share that you had this gift, this calling, this desire, and that you kept hearing it. And yet it took a relocation to a different country, different language, for you to still be busy, and yet for you to begin allocating time towards this desire, this dream, this goal. The book that you've most recently published in English, You Are Allowed, was it previously published in another language?
In Hebrew. Yeah.
Incredible.
Hebrew.
So you read from the left and from the right. You are able to do that. And one of my music teachers, when I was very, very young, was somebody who read music from right to left. And I was always
Wow.
amazed by that because I read music left to right. And
Wow.
yet it's exactly the same music. It was just a different way of presenting it for it to be played off of the page. Why did you choose this particular book, You Are Allowed? Why is this the first one that you translated into English?
Oh, wow. It's really a long process of I start writing in French and then I switch to Hebrew. And when we moved here, it took me a long time to understand that I need to write in English because I'm living in Colorado and I'm not going anywhere. And all my readers are from English background. So And it was interesting because first I kept my all my team in Israel,
Mhm.
but we decided to stay, and so I decided to switch everything around in English and to find a new team and to build everything again. But why you are allowed? Because I wrote a lot of other book in English,
Yes.
and I didn't publish them because I thought it was the first one you are allowed that actually transform my life and
Mm.
transform um, so many things in my life, and it was a start point of all that change and being an author, and also being a business owner, and transforming all that. It was everything start with you are allowed.
Mhm.
So I'm like, okay, I am not doing anything anymore, just you are allowed. So we went back, and it was really hard,
Mhm.
but it was this first it was a beginning.
Yes. And I love that you share the journey of having a full team already and then changing continents and over time deciding that it was time for you to find a team here. I think that's so important for people who are choosing to relocate. And I think it's a deep piece of wisdom there to stay with the team that you have until you know that you need to start changing out, right? And sometimes it happens very organically. The first team starts to have other projects, or the timing in terms of time zones becomes difficult for them, and they choose to start to pull away. And sometimes it really is the decision of the business owner to say, I really see that this next chapter in my life really needs to have a different team working on it for different reasons. You've said several times how difficult it was to translate the book. And as somebody who grew up in Africa, I learned very, very young that there's a very big difference between translating and then interpreting. Yes? And so, in that space, you were not just wanting to translate your work, you were wanting to make sure that the interpretation of your ideas translated well into English. And sometimes it takes fewer words and sometimes it takes more, correct?
Yeah, so and that's why I needed a team here.
Yeah.
Because I cannot learn all the culture and everything in few weeks and say, okay, I can do it. And I'm not supposed to. I'm learning, but I want to take my time and to learn, but for a book like You Are Allowed, it was really weird because, first of all, I did find a team to translate and to do everything long time ago, and it was a real disaster. But I didn't know because I didn't know English, and
Right.
as you said, Hebrew is opposite. Like,
Yeah.
so I didn't know the layout was wrong. I didn't know anything, and when I finally have that space in my mind, in my heart to be okay. I know something is not working. I need to take that time to, okay, it's time. I'm ready. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, I need a new team again, and I need to restart everything. And it was really important for me to start from that book and not other book I already wrote. And there are I think it was really also important to, like my editor told me when we work on You Are Allowed on the translation and everything, she said, no, no, you cannot write like you are actually writing now because you are another person and you are another author. You are, but we are staying, we are doing that, but we are not changing all the book because I
Yes.
was like, excited to, and she said, no, 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 we are just doing that. And it's for my readers.
Mhm.
It's an invitation for my readers. Um, yeah. I think it's really a good place to be when you are an author and you are writing a book for yourself and for you healing. But now I am in the other place where it's for my readers.
Yes.
So
Yes. Odelia, one of the pieces that I hear you speaking about, but not necessarily labeling, is this piece of perseverance, that you had a
oh
team,
yeah,
yes, that they translated it, and yet the book was one that it was done in English, but yet opened the way that a book would in Hebrew, right? Rather than having it open the way that English books typically will open.
it will open, but the layout was wrong,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't know, and it's okay to be in that place of, okay, I don't know, I don't know how to do layout in English in Colorado or wherever. And it's okay to have someone, the right someone, the
Mm-hmm.
good someone to do it. And it took time to find the right people. But yeah, we need to do it again until it's working.
Yes. Thank you for that beautiful gift, because perseverance is something that is required for somebody who wants to do something well. And there will
Absolutely.
be, my experience has been that I have a goal, and this is point A, and I'm trying to get to the next point, and not necessarily is it sprinkled in with pixie dust, fairy dust, for it to be exactly a straight line, right? So there
It
needs
won't
to
be.
be, yes, yes.
It won't be a straight line. It will be, yeah. I think also my writing it was like that. I wrote that book, including the first and second translation and everything. It took me almost 10 years from the first day I started writing that book until the second edition, or publication. It
Yes.
was 10 years. And believe me, today I'm writing books much faster and much better. Lucky me.
Yes.
I get something from all that, of
Mhm.
course. So I'm like, okay, but today I can just be laughing about that. I'm like, oh my god, but then I didn't. It
Okay.
wasn't funny.
Yeah.
It wasn't funny.
I appreciate that it wasn't funny. And I also appreciate that your editor said, you are a different writer now. You have evolved as a writer, but we must keep it in the same way that it was originally written. We must go to that syntax, to that way of speaking, in
Yeah,
order for it to be true for the author, for the readers. Because as the readers are listening and getting to know you through your work, having a place to start, and then to know that you are evolving as a writer. Uh, all authors evolve. All of us are evolving. And so, of course, the work that we do also continues to evolve as well. This is a beautiful place for us to take just a little bit of a break for a thank you for our sponsors. And so, as we are saying thank you to our sponsors, I want to start by saying thank you to Glass Arts Collective. I'm going to change my name right down here to that. Glass Arts Collective. They have come alongside us. They believe in the message that we are sharing with you, but we also believe in what they are creating, a community, a place where people can come and hands on, whether you've had any experience with art or with glass prior to this, to come into a place and to be able to actually do. The other thing that I find to be so beautiful about the studio is that they are now shipping all over the place. So you can go to Glass Arts Collective, you can pick out a one of a piece kind of artwork and be able to have it for yourself or for somebody else. And in this space, we're going to go ahead and cover here, and we're going to say thank you so much to Field Trip and to Hudson Natural for them also supporting Simply Sarah. I love Hudson Natural items. There are multiple items that we have here at the house that we use from them, and I keep trying other things because everything is natural. The shea butter that they use is remarkable. The way that it goes on the skin, the way that it stays, doesn't stick to things. It is a beautiful, beautiful thing. In this conversation with Odelia, she is sharing how she has been an author and how she chose a book, You Are Allowed, to be translated. And the first translation of it from Hebrew into English didn't go as planned. And yet she had great perseverance in order to be able to find a new team, do the work over. And when the editor said to her, you need to continue to be speaking or using the voice that you were 10 years ago when she first began the project, she was willing to do that. Odelia, we are so grateful for your story, for what's taking place. What advice would you give to somebody who's interested in creating a legacy through writing?
Oh, wow. Um, I think the most important is to find someone who is a good fit for you to guide you through the process and be there for you. I did that by myself. And of course, I have my husband and my kids to support me, but I really believe today that when I need help, I just looking for the right person to guide me. And it's totally okay. We are not superheroes. We are not superwoman. So we can just seek for help when we need.
You shared about taking your time to not be in a rush,
Mhm.
because I think part of that is because you want for it to be done correctly. But I
Yeah.
also appreciate this part of you when you say that asking for help is a good thing, that we are not meant to be doing projects, all of the pieces by ourselves.
Yeah.
That is such an important piece. How did you come to that decision that it was time for you to find other people besides your closest, your husband and children, to work with?
I think that it was really hard for me to ask for help. Um, but when you met the right person and that person is actually seeing you,
Mhm.
and it's like I see you, and offers that safe place to be you. It's like, okay, I need more of that.
Yes.
I need more of that. And I think that what I'm doing, I'm creating safe place for people to share their stories
Mhm.
and be of it's it doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to be good or bad. It's need to be your story, your perspective. So
Yes. So tell me a little bit about what you have created, the Legacy Writing Guide. What is all of that about?
it's all about after all what I went through with that first book and other books, but mostly with You Are Allowed. I don't want people to get through what I went through with
Mhm.
writing their stories. And I do believe it's really important that every one of us at least write one book, at least.
Yes.
Um, my way of guiding people is to write not just for legacy, but also for ourselves and to find the one thing we are looking for inside,
Mhm.
not outside.
Yes.
And I was looking for a sense of belonging,
Mhm.
and I did find it when I finished my my book.
Yes.
And it was actually just in front of me all the time. It
Mm.
was inside. It wasn't out. And all my life, I thought go here, you will find the sense of belonging. Go there, do this, do that. And that's what I think our society and everyone is like, do this, do that, do that. But I'm saying, no, no, no. Just slow down a minute and use your senses more
Mm.
and take the time,
Mhm.
because what you are looking for is already here inside. And you
Yes.
just need the time to start writing your story in honor of your parent or grandparent. And again, I'm not saying they are good or bad. I don't put adjective on all that. I
Right.
tell people stop putting, like, I don't say stop, but I'm like, I invite you to not put a sticker on good, bad. It's, we always need to select and do. So
Mm.
it's more of what you want to write, anything you want to write, without judgment and without perfectionism, because there are not such a thing perfection. And just write, and with the time you will find what you are looking for, and your life will change forever. And it will be honoring your family, your parent, your grandparent, and it will be for your kids forever, for future
Yes.
generation. So it's doing a lot of different
Mm.
stuff in the process. So that's what I do.
It's so powerful. You began by saying that you believe that everybody should write at least one book in their life. And as you
Oh
said that,
yes.
I thought, I've written several books. But what first came up to me right after I thought that was my mom is 89 years old, and she's been asked to speak in front of about 1,000 people soon and was given the questions ahead of time. And she was asked about a year ago to speak on several different topics. And as she took the time to write things out, she began to write part of her own story of her life. And so, as you're sharing this, my thought is I can go and ask her for all those different pieces, her favorite recipes, her favorite pictures, and start to put those pieces together for a book that maybe only is published for the family, right? Maybe
Absolutely.
it's not published for everybody, but yet that would be still that piece of legacy, that book, that
Absolutely.
place of a gathering of thoughts and information. So
Uh,
you've inspired me, Odelia, in this moment.
I'm so happy. And that's what we do. I'm asking people about super specific and private, not too private, but one time I asked a lady, what did you love to eat when you were a little girl? And she looked at me, she said, what? I'm like, what did you love to eat when you were a little girl? And so much story went out of that one question. And she was so surprised. And when I did that, I actually started doing that long time ago in Israel.
Mm,
And I was interviewing my mom for my book, You Are Allowed. And I'd ask her about her first love.
mhm,
And I asked her, and she was like, what? Don't tell your dad, blah, blah, blah. And she told me about her first love. And she told me about so many stuff. And I think that was the most incredible
mhm,
thing I ever did with my mom. We didn't have a really easy relationship, but at that moment, I saw my mom as a woman and not just as my mom.
yes,
And
yes,
I think that what we are missing in our relationship with our parents or our kids, it's to remember, first of all, me as a mom to my kids, I need to remember I was a teenager. I did, and as my mom, it was the first time I saw my mom as a person and a woman with desires and dreams, and I never thought about that before, and it was really amazing. So yes, so that's what I'm here for, to ask question and to inspire, to write.
mhm.
And yeah, so I love it. I'm
Well,
excited.
yes, I know that you do love it and you're so good at it. Some people might say, Odelia, I don't like to necessarily write. I would rather type things out or I'd rather do interview, right? I'd rather speak to a camera. Do you have a preference on how they access the stories and the memories and begin to get them out?
No, because I think it's really different from every people I'm meeting is so different.
Mhm.
And my goal is to help guide them to go to that place, and I don't say how you are going to that space and
Mhm.
place and memories, or I'm here just to be here and say, I'm here, don't worry, let's go together, but we are going your way. And so if for someone is on camera interview, or I'm really, no, I don't mind. I just want the story. I want the magic.
Yes, yes. Why do you say that stories are magic?
Yeah, they are magic. Are you asking why?
Why do you say that? Because I believe that they are as well. But what is it about stories, about true stories, about sharing them and getting them to a place that they are in front of us? What's
Mhm.
so magical about that?
For me, stories are energy.
Mhm.
They are not just word on paper. They are so much beyond and so much around, and it's like waves on this ocean. With it's moving, it's energy, it's creating a new realities. It's every word, behind every word there is a magic. It's secrets and so many stuff, and writing has a super big power, yeah, on our lives. And yeah, I love it. I Yeah.
So, as you write now, as you choose to sit down and work on other stories or other books that you are working towards creating,
Mhm.
what language do you find it easiest to write in, or does the language match where the story takes place? Because I know that you are well versed in at least three different languages, and so how do you choose the language that you're going to write in?
Oh wow. Whew. It's interesting. It's depending on what I'm going to write for sure. But I think because I'm still learning English and I want to stay here in USA and in Colorado, and I want to be able to deliver my message the right way in English, I'm writing in English. But my first choice will be in Hebrew.
Mhm.
Even so, I was born in France.
Yes.
But I did have few years in Israel when I was from 4 to 8, and so I did kindergarten and first grade in Israel, and it
Mhm.
stuck with me. So my first choice will be Hebrew, but I'm writing in English. I already finished writing like so many books in English. There are something I think for me. Like you said, it's that connection behind the word,
Mhm.
not just a translation. I'm still learning, but I have my team, so it's really good.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really depending on what I'm doing, but yeah, I
Mhm.
don't. What are you writing? What language are you writing in English?
English, English, yes. I grew up in the Belgian Congo, and so I was exposed to French. My piano lessons were um, mostly in French.
Hmm.
A Belgian woman who had come to the big city and was living there, and she'd go back to the conservatory. And so most of my music background was done in French. Um, but true to form, I understood more than I spoke, right? She was giving instructions, I was following those instructions and didn't have to do a lot of asking questions or she was just so good at teaching and so good at modeling what she was expecting or what she was wanting. And so I have deep, deep respect for that. And then, as people will find when they move to relocate to other countries, unless you live in a place where no one else speaks your language, it's very, very easy to find other people who do speak your language, and it's easy to not have to become completely proficient. When I was a classroom teacher, we would talk about the 4 different levels of proficiency for students learning English. And so, in the beginning, it's just, kind of a pointing and that kind of thing of what the person's looking for and needing. And then by the end of it, that the 4th level is that they can completely converse at the appropriate age level that they're at in the new language. And so, I was never fully proficient in French or the tribal languages that I grew up speaking as well. And so I will every now and then still dream in those languages.
Wow.
But I treasure those dreams. I treasure those experiences. But I do spend my time working in English. And I have discovered that in the last 5 years or so, and it's been a little bit longer than that I have really been, when I began working on writing affirmations and wanting to have the affirmation really mean what I was desiring, taking the interpretation of my heart, not just the translation of the words, right? I really began looking at vocabulary and how vocabulary nuances make a difference, and then began looking at emotional intelligence and emotional nuances as well, in finding the words for that. I grew up with, glad, sad, and mad. Well, there's so much more, than just those 3, top hits. And so finding those words in the writing is something that I do. And I really appreciate what you have said about giving yourself the space to just write. Don't be editing it. Don't be labeling it, putting stickers on it. Allow yourself to tell the story.
You are allowed.
You are allowed. Yes.
I do need, I think, to learn English and write in English, because I'm guiding people here online or, but still in English. So it's really important for me to be getting better in English.
Yes.
So
we met because of Gary Barnes International. How did working with him impact what you are currently doing?
Wow. So everything started with Gary. I think, for a long time I did a lot, but I never had that person who actually saw me and say, I see you, like I said before, it's Gary. When I met him first time in the business boot camp, and he saw me, and there were a lot of people, but I did so many stuff there, and it wasn't a big success actually. But he saw me and he was there, and that's all what I needed, that one person. And since then everything changed. All my life is like, totally different. And I think that what I want to be for other people with their stories, because I know it's hard and I know it's can be really lonely. But to be there and to see people and say, wow, I'm here, I see you, I hear you. And sometimes that's all what we need. I think we all need that, and we don't know, maybe. So it changed everything.
So what I hear you saying is that working with the right mentor can open up doors for you and possibilities that you could only dream of and keep making attempts towards until you found the right mentor.
Yeah, yeah. I started, so I'm working with him and with all many. I have really a lot of people now with me supporting me on my, yeah, yeah,
Encouraging.
and it's really important to, yeah, it's really important to have the right people. And it's not always a good, like when I go to events and I talk about what I'm doing, it's not always, I'm not the, maybe not the right fit for them, but I say go and write your story. Even if
Yes.
it's not with me, but please do write your stories, and
Yes.
maybe it's a good fit and maybe not. And it's
Mhm.
really important to be aware of your real needs and your real expectation and your
Mhm.
real and I think I understood that during when I met Gary on the business bootcamp, and it was really a big how do you say that, like I just realized so many stuff and I'm like, oh my gosh. um yeah. So since last September when I met him to today, it's craziness what's what's going on, because when it's right for you, it's just happening, like, you know.
And it sounds like when it's right for you, it doesn't require more time, that the time compresses itself, that you get more done quicker in order to help you move forward faster. Am I putting words in your mouth, or would you say that that is accurate?
I think it's accurate. I think that most of the time when we want to save time and money, we're actually wasting a lot of time and money, because I was afraid to step out of my comfort zone, and I was pretty sure I did all my life step out of my comfort zone. But there was that one thing that, okay, I need to get help and I need to pay people to, and I need to think differently about a lot of stuff.
Yes.
And it was a big change, and I did that super quickly. But not everyone need to do that like me, you know. I'm doing I'm doing a lot of stuff really quick and really yeah, but not everyone needs to. But if I can share what happened exactly in the business bootcamp if you want. But it was a real disaster for me, and yet I felt amazing.
Hmm.
You know, it was so ridiculous, but I felt amazing.
We have the time. I'd love for you to share that story if you would like to.
Okay, so as a business boot camp, we were supposed to break, how do you say that, a piece of wood with
Okay.
yeah, there is a guy is coming and explaining about what he's doing, blah blah blah, and we need to go and break that piece of wood. I didn't, and because I was the last, I was like Chris, the guy said, okay, you know what, go sit and I will do everyone else. And of course a lot of people and a lot of people involved, and but you sit and you can try again after that. And on that board we did write what we want, blah blah blah, anyway. And so it was my turn again, and everyone is looking at me because I was the last one and I didn't break that again, and it was a real disaster. It was really, I was like so red, and I'm like, oh my gosh, everyone is looking at me. I'm going to cry. And then Gary give me a hug and he say, it's okay. It's the board is, you know, the piece of wood is not okay. It's not you. And I'm like, Gary, I'm okay. And I didn't know him. And he
Mm.
say, okay, I'm so sorry. I will talk with Chris about that. It's not okay, blah, blah, blah. But I didn't care about the piece of wood. I care of Gary looking in my eyes
Yes.
and seeing me and hugging me and saying it's okay, I'm here.
Yes.
And for me was that moment of wow. And the day after, I did have an opportunity to speak on this stage for a few minutes. I was picked for to speak, and the first time I speak, and then he give you feedback, and the second half you speak again. In the second half, I froze in front of everyone, and I was like, oh my god! Again, they are all looking at me. It's the second time in 2 days, and Gary asked me, are you okay? And I don't know how and why, but I say, yes, I'm feeling amazing, like I never felt before in my life. And Gary said, I believe you. And people say, what's going on here? I don't know what's going I'm like, I don't know what's going on here, but I know I'm in the right place because
Yes.
after 2 days doing fun of myself in front of so many people, but I feel so good. I don't know how to explain that. And and the day I told everyone, I say, when I didn't brought the piece
Mhm.
of food, I brought something on the piece of food. I say I want to be successful, whatever, but it's not actually what I really want. So
Right.
maybe, it was so many stuff going on.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was amazing. So it really, really, really was the lower. It was so loud, and everyone remember me for that. So, and I was like so red. I'm like, oh my god,
Mhm.
2 time in a row, wow! But it was magic. So
Mm. I love that you were able to share this story of how you weren't able to break the piece of wood 2 times in a row, and then that you get on stage and you're able to speak in the second time after getting some feedback that you just look at people and no words come out, right? And yet and still in this place, you maybe you're feeling the redness in your face and you're noticing the embarrassment, but you're also noticing this rush of energy, this creative energy that's coming into you by being in a space of actually being seen, and how
I'm going to
powerful that
cry now.
is. It's okay. You can. That being in a space of being seen literally changes how our cells communicate and talk to each other. Our cells have enough energy, so I understand, to be able to be brighter than the sun. And yet, so often we find ourselves cowering. We find ourselves pulling back and pulling away rather than saying, I am here for a purpose. And the vibration of who I am is the vibration that I'm going to have show up. And I'm going to choose courage. I'm going to choose to have my heart open, right? The French word for encourage is that we are taking and pressing courage into somebody's heart, and how amazing that is to be able to do that and to be witness, to be the outside person watching somebody experience that encouragement and that ability to move forward.
I don't know if people understood, all people understood what's going on, but I did felt that what you are describing so well. Lucky me. You're It was so strong, and so I'm like, I don't know what's going on, because I was invited to go to the business boot camp by a friend of mine, and she said, I have a free ticket, do you want to come? I'm like, yeah, okay. But I didn't bring anything from my business. I was going to have fun. I was like, I'm going to enjoy myself, I don't care, you know. And we dance and we have fun, and I was doing fun with everyone, laughing and speaking with people and dancing, and I didn't care about business, I cared about being me.
Yeah.
And I was so good, oh my goodness. Anyway, so that's what I do now for people with their story.
Yes. Yes, you see them and you allow them that freedom to be able to
Yeah.
freeze or get stuck or be frustrated that they can't find the right word, or that part of the memory is gone, or that other people are not loving that they're actually sharing the family stories. You see them and encourage them and cheer them on for them to continue writing. How did you get published? How did you go about that process of being published?
I have a publisher. She's amazing. And I just let her do her magic.
Mhm.
because I don't want to deal with that part.
Yes.
I tried a few years ago and it's
Mhm.
not for me. I'm like, no, thank you. And so she's really amazing. So now what I'm doing is writing with other women or
Mhm.
men, and just writing story and interviewing people, and
So good.
that's all. And after when I'm done, I have editor, I have my publisher, I have everything. So I'm like,
Mhm.
okay.
That is so, so, so good. What do you see to be the next adventure, the next project that you plan to work on or work towards? What do you feel that's coming up that's new for you that you are considering? You're not committed necessarily to it, but that you're considering.
Speaking around the world,
Mm.
like going, I'm yeah, I'm a speaker. I don't say that motivational speaker. I have a few talks I love to share
Mm.
about my story and why I wrote you out loud and all kind of stuff. And I want to go everywhere in the world and share my stories with people.
I can see you doing that in different languages. I love, love, love that. And the pictures will be the same that you use in the slide, no matter what language that you choose to share in. What was part of that for you that the the decision to write "You Are Allowed"? What did that come out of?
Wow. I was super, super exhausted and tired of having my story on my. I felt like I was adopted when I was a baby,
Ah,
and my adoption was kept secret. And when I discovered I was adopted, it was a big, huge explosion in my life. I was a teenager, and
mm,
I ran away to find my love and my sense of belonging. I felt like my parents were ashamed of because they decided to keep that as a secret,
mm,
and to keep that secret they had to lie a lot.
mm,
And when I was young it was okay, but when I grew up I felt like, okay, what's going on here, why they are so ashamed. And my birth mom didn't want me, so I felt like, okay, no one's want me, I don't have it, my identity anymore, I don't have a sense of
mm,
belonging anymore. So I
mm.
ran away looking for my sense of belonging. I didn't find it, it was a real disaster. um but I had that with me all my life, and it
Mm.
was so heavy and I was so exhausted of,
Yes.
okay, let's married, let's have kids, let's divorce, let's remarried, let's have blah blah blah, and again, and let's have other kids, and now have a business and a new business, and you go and go and go. And I'm like, where I am going actually, where are we running, where are we are in a hurry to where, like,
Mm.
you know. And I'm like, okay, just a minute now. It's too heavy, and when it's too heavy it's impacting my relationship with my kids, my friend, my husband. And I think I deserve to have that moment where I put down everything from my shoulders and say, okay, I am allowed to live my life
Yes.
without feeling that big stuff on my shoulder and my life. And when you put that down, you release that, you can finally have a more interesting and nice conversation with your husband and with your friend and your family, because you are not always with here, I have that little voice in my ear all the time. You are adopted. You are adopted. Shame on you. Blah blah blah. And I'm like, shut up. I don't. Oh, sorry. I'm like,
No, yeah, it's good.
okay. Um, and so I was like, okay, it's time to take that little voice and take care of that. So that's what I did with my you are allowed, I did reflect of about a lot of things in my life, my parents, my mom, my dad, my birth mom, me, and just to reflect. It's really amazing because when you are living that story or that trauma or whatever, you don't have time to process everything and to look at all the perspective, because you need to survive, and you cannot stop your surviving when you say, okay, I stop surviving now and I start understanding my mom. It wasn't
Yeah.
possible.
Right.
That when you are writing and you already overcome that trauma or that situation, you have that opportunity to take, okay,
And yes.
let's reflect on that, and let's see all kind of perspective. And then I started letting go of judgment, and I start understanding my parents, and I start to have forgiveness and love and respect in places that I didn't believe I will have with my parents. And I think it's really important for me. Um, yeah, and I also forgive myself,
Yes.
and it was so hard, but it was so good,
Mhm.
because after reflecting, you can release,
Yes.
and after release you can renaissance, renew,
Mhm. Yeah.
reborn.
Yes.
And that's what that's what I did.
Mhm.
And I think it was really worth it.
Mm.
So, but I'm not saying everyone needs to do that for 10 years. So
Yes. Adelia, I so honor you and the journey that you have been on, and that you would take the time to be vulnerable and to share this with us, because
yeah.
um, inside of your story are so many places that you could have said, enough. I'm not going to try harder. I'm not going to show up. I'm not going to persevere. I'm just going to live a very quiet life and just be out of everybody's way, whatever that happened to look like. And yet you said, no, I'm here for a purpose. And there is something inside of me that longs to be seen and deserves to be seen. And that you continue to move forward with that. And then once you had come through the rebirthing, the Renaissance part of it, to come back then and to be writing about this and gifting everybody else this permission as well, that when we grow up and we believe things one way, and then we find these deep, what we sense as betrayals, or that the foundational pieces of our life are not where we expected them to actually be, that can really cause a lot of inner turmoil, and it can also cause exterior turmoil. And so for you to go through this process and um, bring with you the wisdom that you learned through all of this, and to be able to share and to keep asking people to share their story. Is there anything that you want to reiterate as we are winding down our time together today?
Hmm. Yeah, I would love to say, you are allowed to write your stories the way you want and the way you understand them. So yeah,
Ah,
write your stories. Yeah,
I tell you, that is so, so powerful. Thank you so much for being our guest and sharing so much wisdom with us. We
thank you.
just so appreciate it. And to our audience, thank you for staying till the end. I had a network president say to me, sometimes the very, very best pieces of advice or gifts to the audience really do happen towards the end. And I have to tell you that the whole conversation was lovely. And then she began telling her own personal story, and I was pulled in immediately, because I knew that the person I was listening to was sharing her best wisdom. And those are the energetic gifts that we look forward to every single episode. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of this ever growing, incredible community. And we will see you